So we're in Book 3, Canto 4. This is the last canto of this book of the Divine Mother. And we've been reading the last few weeks, we've been reading this long speech of the Supreme Divine Mother to Asvapati. She reveals herself to him, and she knows what is in his heart, what is his aspiration that has led him up all the planes of the manifestation and beyond the manifestation. She understands the tremendous tapasya he has undertaken, but she says, what thou hast won is thine, but ask no more. So she says, you have achieved all this for yourself, but don't ask anything more. She knows that he wants to ask for earth and men. And then she gives all her reasons why it is not yet time for the earth to receive the fulfillment of his prayer. She says, man is not ready. Gives all this long description of the nature of humanity, the significance of humanity. And at the end, she says, don't ask now for the imperfect fruit, the partial prize. Only pray to me for one boon, for one gift, to greaten thy spirit, and ask for only one joy, the joy of raising up your kind, lifting up humanity. And you leave all the rest to me. All things shall change in God's transfiguring hour. So I will read on from there. Asvapati replies to her. August and sweet sank hushed that mighty voice. Nothing now moved in the vast brooding space. A stillness came upon the listening world, a mute immensity of the eternal's peace. But Asvapati's heart replied to her, a cry amid the silence of the vasts. How shall I rest content with mortal days and the dull measure of terrestrial things? I, who have seen behind the cosmic mask the glory and the beauty of thy face. Hard is the doom to which thou bind'st thy sons. How long shall our spirits battle with the night and bear defeat and the brute yoke of death? We who are vessels of a deathless force and builders of the Godhead of the race. Or if it is thy work I do below, amid the error and waste of human life in the vague light of man's half-conscious mind? Why breaks not in some distant gleam of thee? Ever the centuries and millenniums pass. Where in the greyness is thy coming's ray? Where is the thunder of thy victory's wings? Only we hear the feet of passing God. A plan in the occult eternal mind, mapped out to backward and prophetic sight. The eons ever repeat their changeless round. The cycles all rebuild and ever aspire. All we have done is ever still to do. All breaks and all renews and is the same. Huge revolutions of life's fruitless gyre. The newborn ages perish like the old, as if the sad enigma kept its right, till all is done for which this scene was made. Too little the strength that now with us is born, too faint the light that steals through nature's lids, too scant the joy with which she buys our pain. In a brute world that knows not its own sense, thought-racked upon the wheel of birth we live, the instruments of an impulse not our own, moved to achieve with our heart's blood for price, half knowledge, half creations that soon tire. A foiled, immortal soul in perishing limbs, baffled and beaten back, we labor still. Annulled, frustrated, spent, we still survive. In anguish we labor, that from us may rise a larger seeing man with nobler heart, a golden vessel of the incarnate truth, the executor of the divine attempt, equipped to wear the earthly body of God, communicant and prophet and lover and king. Which way we're reading, Rosa? Would you start, please, Patricia?
August and sweet, sank, hushed that mighty voice. Nothing now moved in the vast brooding space. A stillness came upon the listening world, a mute immensity of the eternal's peace.
So this is the mighty voice of the mother. She stops speaking. Her voice is august. This is the same spelling as the month of August, but the pronunciation is different. August is the noun, the name of the month. It's named after the Roman Emperor Augustus, and he was called Augustus. That was the title that was given to him because he was august. He was magnificent, majestic. So the two words have the same origin, but when we use it as an adjective, we put the accent on the second syllable instead of the first one. So that mighty voice of the mother, august and at the same time sweet, sank, hushed, fades away into silence, and it's followed by a pause. Nothing now moved in the vast brooding space, in this space of superconscience beyond the manifestation. Everything is listening, the whole universe is listening to this conversation, but a stillness came upon the listening world, a mute immensity, mute, silent, without a voice, this vastness, just peace, the peace of the eternal. Nargis, you would read?
But Aswapati's heart replied to her, a cry amid the silence of the vast. How shall I rest, content with mortal days, in the dull measure of terrestrial things? I who have seen behind the cosmic mask the glory and the beauty of thy face.
Thank you. So we remember again that at the end of the previous canto, it was Aswapati's heart. His consciousness had risen into the spirit realm. He had seen the new creation. It told us that all the other parts of his being were silent, dumb in centered sleep, and they were consenting, they were agreeing to this slow, deliberate power, the slow process of evolution. But only his heart was still crying out and demanding the mother's presence. So now also it is his heart which protests, which says, how will it be possible for me to do what you've asked me to do? To accept, to remain content, satisfied with mortal days, with human time, and the dull measure of terrestrial things. Everything on earth seems so dull and ordinary. Now that I have seen your face, I have seen behind this mask, this cosmic mask, this universe which is your disguise, no? I have seen the glory and the beauty of thy face. So how can I possibly rest content with going back and living like an ordinary human being, and slowly going on with the work as you ask me to do. Shamana.
Hard is the doom to which thou bindest thy sons. How long shall our spirits battle with the night, and bear defeat and the rude yoke of death, and builders, we who are vessels of a deathless force, and builders of the Godhead of the race.
So she has called him son of force. Means he's her son. He's the son of energy, of Shakti. No? So he says, you are giving your sons a very hard destiny, a doom. You have tied us to a hard doom. How long must we go on battling, fighting, struggling with the night of unconsciousness, of falsehood, of pain and suffering, of death? No? How long do we have to go on doing that? He says, after all, he means, I think he means human beings, but anyway, those chosen human beings who have chosen to follow the mother. He says, we are vessels. You've made us your vessels, your containers of your deathless force. And you have given us this task of building up the divinity in humanity, in the human race. That's the work you've given us. But it's such a difficult work. And how long will it go on? James?
For if it is thy work I do below, amid the error and waste of human life, in the vague light of man's half-conscious mind, why breaks not in some distant gleam of thee? Ever the centuries and millenniums pass. Where in the grayness is thy coming's grave? Where is the thunder of thy victory's wings? Only we hear the feet of passing gods.
So he says, if I am doing your work on earth, here below, in the middle of this error and waste, all the mistakes and the things that go wrong and the wastage of human life, and the only light we have is this vague light of man's half-conscious mind, why doesn't some ray of light come down to us from you? No? At least some distant gleam, some far away light. Time is passing and passing, the centuries, the hundreds of years, the millenniums, the thousands of years. In all that grayness, where is that ray of light which tells us that you are coming, that you are on your way? And why can't we hear the thunder of the wings of your victory? Perhaps you have an image in your mind of that marvelous statue. It's in the Louvre Museum in Paris, the Greek statue of victory. She's lost her head, but she still has her powerful wings. No? Victory comes sweeping in like a great bird on powerful wings. Why don't we hear those wings coming? All that we hear is the feet of passing gods. Some cosmic powers of light, they come. We hear their footsteps, and then they've gone again. We need more than that, he says. Prasanna?
They plant in the upward eternal line, map out to backward and prophetic side. The aims ever repeat the changeless round. The cycles all rebuild and ever as well.
Yes. So here he continues speaking about time, the eons. Eons are immeasurably long periods of time. They correspond to what in the Indian tradition we call the yugas. So the eons are just going round and round in a circle. They're following this plan that is there in the hidden, occult, eternal mind which is governing the universe. And if we have the sight, the subtle sight, as King Asvapati has, he can see the past and the present and the future. So he sees these cycles mapped out to the backward sight and to the prophetic sight that looks towards the future. But they're always going the same changeless round. They are all building something up, they're all aspiring, but it's just going on round and round and round. Mahalingam.
All breaks and all beginnings is the same. Huge revolution of life's fruitless year. The newborn ages perish like the old, as if the sad enigma took its right, till all is done for which this scene was made.
So there's this line first, all we have done is ever still to do. No? And even Mother has complained like this. She said, until the final victory is won, we have to go on and on again, winning the victory. Everything that we've done, we have to do it again. And the old Greeks, they had that image of Sisyphus. You know the story? He was condemned, that he had a huge big boulder to roll up to the top of the hill. And he had to keep rolling it up. But when he got to the top, it always rolled back down. And here. So this is a kind of image that those old Greeks have of this truth, that whatever we have done, we have to do it again. The ages build, the cycles rebuild, but everything breaks, and then it comes back again, and it's the same. It's a changeless round. So there are these huge revolutions, these turnings around, like the revolutions of a wheel. This is of the fruitless gyre or gyre of life. I think both pronunciations are correct. A gyre is a big circular movement, such as, for example, birds of prey, vultures and eagles. They just circle round on the thermals. You know, they don't move their wings. They just sail around. It's a circular movement. So life goes round and round in circles like that, and there are many experiences, no doubt, but there's no real fruit. The newborn ages perish like the old. We're often feeling that we're at the beginning of some new age, something new will come. But as Svapati says, they will go through the same cycle like the old ones. They will die. He said, it looks as if the sad enigma, an enigma is a mystery, something that is difficult to understand, a riddle, a mystery. There's something very, very mysterious about our universe. Why does it have to be like this? No? And it's a sad enigma, the fact that everything gets repeated like that, no? As if it kept its right to rule, until everything is done for which this scene, this manifestation, this creation was made. If it was made with a purpose, it's as if that purpose has to be completely fulfilled before this changeless round can change. Eve, you read?
Too little the strength that now within is born, too faint the light that steals through nature's needs, too scant the joy with which she buys our pain, in a brute world that knows not its own sense, thought wrecked upon the wheel of birth we live, the instruments of an impulse, not our own, moved to achieve with our heart's blood for Christ, half knowledge, half creation, that soon die.
So the strength that is born with us, human beings, is not enough. It's not enough to solve the enigma. It's not enough to change those changeless rounds. And the strength is not enough because the light is not enough. The consciousness is not enough. The light, it's as if nature's eyes are closed. When your eyes are closed, through your eyelids, some light may come. And he said, but that light which is coming through the eyelids of nature is too faint. It doesn't give us the knowledge and the strength that we need to change anything. And we suffer here. Nature makes us suffer. She has her reasons, no doubt. She gives us some small reward, but it's not enough. Scant means not enough. Compared with the suffering, the joy that we get in human life is not enough. Here we live in this world, this brute world. It means sort of rough, unrefined, unconscious. It doesn't even know its own significance, its own meaning. We live here in this brute world, and it's as if we're carried round and round on this wheel of birth and rebirth. And as we are carried around on this wheel, we are tortured, racked. The rack was a very terrible form of torture. We are tortured by our thoughts. We are the instruments. We are being used by some impulse which is not our own. It's always pushing us, driving us to achieve more. And we can't help it. We are driven, we have to make these efforts that cost us so much pain, which wear us out. But all that we can achieve is half knowledge, half creations, and they don't last long. Those things, they soon tire. Ganga Lakshmi.
To follow the mothers with imperishing wings, half let them beating back, we are both still. A nerve frustrated, spent, we still survive.
Thank you. So we have an immortal soul. That immortal soul is somehow imprisoned in these limbs, these bodies, which perish, which die. And that means that our soul is foiled. It's prevented from doing what it wants to do. To foil somebody, it's to prevent them from fulfilling their plan or their wish. But still, because the soul has that plan, has that mission, we go on laboring, we go on doing, making all this hard effort, even though we are foiled, even though we are baffled, prevented, even though we are beaten back by adverse forces. Still, we go on laboring. Even if we are annulled, means to be made nothing. If we die, if we're wiped out, if we are frustrated, it's also foiled, prevented. If we're spent, exhausted, our strength is all gone. That we still survive. The soul is immortal. It still survives. No? So why is all this happening? Varadarajan.
In anguish we labor, but from us may rise a larger seeing man with nobler heart, a golden vessel of the incarnate truth, the executor of the divine intent. They took to wear the earthly body of God, communicant and prophet and love and king.
So these are among the very, very memorable lines of this poem. Asvapati says, why are we laboring like that? We are laboring because we have to, however much pain it causes us. Anguish is intense pain. We are laboring so that from us, human beings as we are now, a larger seeing man shall emerge. A type of human being that has a wider consciousness and a nobler heart, who will become a golden vessel. Gold is pure. It doesn't rust or stain, or it's not incorruptible. It's the symbol of the truth. It's the symbol of the supermind. So this would be a truly pure and fit vessel in which the truth can incarnate, take a body. That larger seeing man will become the executor, the one who carries out this divine attempt, who will be equipped, who will have the equipment. We don't have enough, no, he says. We're too little the strength and too scant, too faint the light, no? But that larger seeing man should be equipped, he should be fit to wear the earthly body of God. He would need to be a communicant, one who is in communion with the Supreme, a prophet, one who can see the future, and at the same time he will have the qualities of a lover, worldwide love, and a ruler, a great, powerful ruler. He'll be communicant and prophet and lover and king.
This one, we can say Avatar and the Messiah.
We can say it's the Messiah. The interesting thing about it is that if we think about the qualities of the historical avatars, this one has to be all of them together. We could say Rama and Krishna, they were kings, and Christ was a lover, and this prophet and communicant. There have been avatars who had these qualities, but in order to really bring the thing to fulfillment, this has to be a whole race. When he says a larger seeing man, he doesn't mean just one individual, no? A whole race of beings who have all these qualities. Francesca.
I know that thy creation cannot fail, for even through the mists of mortal thought, infallible are thy mysterious steps, and though necessity dons the garb of chance, hidden in the blind shifts of fate, she keeps the slow calm logic of infinite pace and the inviolate sequence of its will.
Thank you. So he's reassuring the mother. He says, I know, I am sure that your creation can't fail. Because your steps are mysterious, but they're also infallible. They're absolutely true and right. They can't fail. Even on this path through the mists of mortal thought, at this particular stage of evolution, where everything is very confused and difficult to see because of this half-light of human consciousness, still your steps are going on and they are infallible. And he says, I know that things look like chance, but behind the chance there's a necessity, something that must happen. There's a line earlier where he speaks about necessity and chance together. Necessity is what is inevitable. It has to happen. But it puts on this robe, this disguise. It dresses itself up as chance, as if it's just random. You throw the dice and how will they fall? But they have to fall a particular way because there's a will behind. No? So that goddess of necessity, she seems to be hidden by these apparently blind shifts of fate. Somebody seems to be doing very well and then disaster happens. But still, necessity is following this slow, calm logic of infinity's pace. Every step has to follow just like that. This is following the inviolate sequence of the will of infinity. One thing after another, a sequence, no? One step after another has to follow like this. And not one step can go wrong. Inviolate. It means nothing can spoil or interrupt that sequence. Do you like to read, sir? Yes.
All life is fixed in an ascending scale, and Adam and time is the evolving law. In the beginning, it prepares the flow.
Yeah, you can read the next.
Strange irrational product of the Maya. This compromise between the beast and God is not the crown of the giant miraculous body.
Yeah, thank you. So, there's a sequence. All life is fixed in this ascending scale, this scale which goes higher and higher and higher. And there's a law, an unfolding, evolving law, which is adamantine, something that is adamantine. It's adamant is the strongest substance that there is. No? So that law is adamant. It's a law that cannot be broken, because in the beginning of the manifestation, the close is already prepared. So this strange, irrational product of the Maya, that's us. We think that we have reason, but actually we are irrational. And we are products of the mud. We've come up out of the sticky, dirty mud. This compromise between the beast and God. They're somewhere halfway in between the wild animals and the divine being. But this is not the crown of thy miraculous world. Martin.
I know there shall inform the inconscient self, at one with nature, and at height with heaven, a spirit vast as the containing sky, and swept with ecstasy from invisible forms, the God come down, and greater by the form.
So here we have to look at this word, inform. Sri Aurobindo uses this word in a special sense that's not familiar with us. No? We talk about informing people, keeping people informed. They have to be told what has happened at the meeting or what has been decided. But here he uses it in its root sense of forming from inside, from within, shaping. So the inconscient cells will be informed, formed from within by a spirit that is as vast as the containing sky, as the universe. That spirit is at one with. To be at one with means to be in harmony with nature, that is with the the manifestation, and it will be at height. It will reach as high as the highest levels of consciousness. That spirit, which is vast and which is swept with ecstasy from invisible founts. It'll be moved by a deep ananda from these fountains, these sources, invisible sources of delight. This will be a God coming down into the manifestation. We think that if a God comes down to earth, that is a kind of fall. But here and in some other places in the poem, Sri Aurobindo says that God will become greater by accepting this, to come down into this human world, to lift it up. Antim.
A power arose out of my slumber's cell, abandoning the tardy limp of the hours and the inconstant blink of mortal sight. There, where the thinker sleeps in too much light, and intolerant flames the lone all-witnessing eye, hearing the word of fate from silence heart, in the endless moment of eternity, it saw from timelessness the works of time.
Mm-hmm. So he says, I know your creation cannot fall, and I've had a prophetic vision of the fulfillment, no? Out of my slumber's cell, out of this little prison cell of the human body, a power has risen up out of time. It has abandoned the tardy limp, this slow, stumbling pace of time, and it's going beyond this inconstant blink. Blink is when you're always closing your eyes, no? Of mortal sight. It goes to where the thinker falls asleep, where the active thinking mind falls asleep because there's too much light, no? Into the superconscious. And there, in that place, the lone, all-witnessing eye, the eye of divine vision, is burning. It burns away all impurity and falsehood. He heard the word of fate, the word of command, which sets off that chain of necessity. Emerging, he hears it emerging from the heart of the silence, and it's emerging in this endless moment of eternity. So it's not something that happened in time once and for all. That word of creation is going on and on and on, saying yes. So this power that rose up in him or out of him saw from timelessness, from beyond time, it watched the works of time. And so he has this prophetic view of what will happen in the future. But I think we'll just read the next 3 lines. Lela, you can read them.
Overpast where
the leaden formulas of the mind overpowered the obstacle of mortal space, the unfolding image showed the things to come.
Yes. So what we think, all these heavy formulas that limit the way that mind can think, and this obstacle of mortal space that we can just see as far as the horizon and no further, these things are exceeded, overpassed and overpowered. And this image, this great unfolding vision that he has, shows the things to come. It's an image of the unfolding of the future. And we'll read what he has to say about that next week. Now we could read these lines together and let these powerful words resonate in us. August and sweet sank hushed that mighty voice. Nothing now moved in the vast brooding space. A stillness came upon the listening world, a mute immensity of the eternal peace. But Aswapati's heart replied to her, a cry amid the silence of the vasts. How shall I rest content with mortal days and the dull measure of terrestrial things? I who have seen behind the cosmic mask the glory and the beauty of thy face. Hard is the doom to which thou bindest thy sons. How long shall our spirits battle with the night and bear defeat and the brute yoke of death? We who are vessels of a deathless force and builders of the Godhead of the race. Or if it is thy work I do below, amid the error and waste of human life, in the vague light of man's half-conscious mind, why breaks not in some distant gleam of thee? Ever the centuries and millenniums pass. Where in the greyness is thy coming's ray? Where is the thunder of thy victory's wings? Only we hear the feet of passing gods. A plan in the occult eternal mind, mapped out to backward and prophetic sight. The eons ever repeat their changeless round. The cycles all rebuild and ever aspire. All we have done is ever still to do. All breaks and all renews and is the same. Huge revolutions of life's fruitless gyre, the newborn ages perish like the old, as if the sad enigma kept its right till all is done for which this scene was made. Too little the strength that now with us is born, too faint the light that steals through nature's lids, too scant the joy with which she buys our pain. In a brute world that knows not its own sense, thought-racked upon the wheel of birth we live, the instruments of an impulse not our own, moved to achieve with our heart's blood for price, half knowledge, half creations that soon tire. A foiled immortal soul in perishing limbs, baffled and beaten back we labour still. Annulled, frustrated, spent, we still survive. In anguish we labour, that from us may rise a larger seeing man with nobler heart, a golden vessel of the incarnate truth, the executor of the divine attempt, equipped to wear the earthly body of God, communicant and prophet and lover and king. I know that thy creation cannot fail, for even through the mists of mortal thought infallible are thy mysterious steps. And though necessity dons the garb of chance, hidden in the blind shifts of fate, she keeps the slow, calm logic of infinity's pace, and the inviolate sequence of its will. All life is fixed in an ascending scale, and adamantine is the evolving law. In the beginning is prepared the close. This strange, irrational product of the mire, this compromise between the beast and God, is not the crown of thy miraculous world. I know there shall inform the inconscient cells, at one with nature and at height with heaven, a spirit vast as the containing sky, and swept with ecstasy from invisible founts. A God come down, and greater by the fall. A power arose out of my slumber's cell, abandoning the tardy limp of the hours and the inconstant blink of mortal sight. There where the thinker sleeps in too much light, and intolerant flames the lone all-witnessing eye, hearing the word of fate from silence heart in the endless moment of eternity. It saw from timelessness the works of time. Overpast were the leaden formulas of the mind, overpowered the obstacle of mortal space. The unfolding image showed the things to come.